So I just got a message on my phone that said, it's time to watch YouTube. United Brothers Synagogue is going on live. That's what it says on my phone.
You are maybe Patrick is sending that to you on the cruise ship. You can see it.
That's what I was wondering. We can't see the water close enough.
It's 7:30. Now you can go. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. I welcome you to our Shabbat service in our beautiful sanctuary here in Bristol, the most patriotic city we learned last week, most patriotic city in the world, right? We're going to be using the pamphlets tonight, so if they're over there if you don't have any by the staircase. And we'll open up to page 1, and we'll start singing our opening song, Hine Ma Tov. Hine Ma Tovu Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tovu Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tov, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tov, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tovu Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Hine Ma Tovu Manayim, Shevet Achim Gam Yachad. Behold how good and how pleasant it is for people to dwell together. We just had a beautiful dinner downstairs, mixing with friends, and that's exactly what Hine Ma Tov is all about. So welcome to Shabbat Across America. It's a different kind of service tonight. Launched in 1997, Shabbat Across America was created to unite Jews across North America, and through a shared Shabbat experience that took place in synagogues and Jewish centers across the country and Canada. Jews across North America can feel connected to each other knowing that we are participating in the same activity. Our brothers and sisters in California, Florida, Kansas, and every other state are having Shabbat dinner together and participating in a similar service. This service, the outline of the service is given by the organization, and I filled it in with some of our own stuff. So this is going to be a participatory service. We're going to have lots of readings, so I'm going to have people read, lots of singing and reading, and you know all the songs, you've done them before. So would somebody like to read Shabbat, God's gift?
For 6 days God created the world, and on the seventh day he rested. Why did God rest? His work was complete. The Hebrew word for complete is shalom,
Shalem.
shares the same root as shalom, peace. When one is at peace, she is complete. The Talmud states that Shabbat was God's gift to the Jewish people. It was the day to build our relationship with God and reconnect with the spiritual world after a long week in the physical world. But there was another benefit. Shabbat is an opportunity to join family and friends and community. Society needs a chance to catch its breath, look inward, and really focus on what's important. It has been said, more than Jews have kept the Sabbath. The Sabbath has kept the Jews. It's God's greatest gift to humanity.
Thanks. So the lighting of Shabbat candles is the very first activity of welcoming Shabbat. It's performed even before Shabbat begins, so as to not kindle a flame on Shabbat, because once Shabbat starts, you can't kindle a flame because it's considered to be work. I mean, you're not supposed to work on Shabbat. So whether it's displayed in your grandmother's antique silver candlesticks or in a funky modern candelabra, candles have been a symbol of Shabbat. And once the candles are lit, both hands are waved 3 times towards one's face, symbolically drawing in the light of the candles and the sanctity of the Sabbath. The eyes are then covered with the hands and the blessing recited. Following the blessing, with eyes still covered, some may recite a private prayer for themselves, their family, their friends, or the Jewish nation in general. The eyes are then uncovered, and Shabbat has finally arrived. Although traditionally it was considered to be a woman's mitzvah, many men also light candles. It's an obligation of the entire household to make sure the candles are lit. At the very least, we light 2 candles representing 2 commandments of Shabbat. Shamor, which means guarding, and Zachor, remembering. In some families, an additional candle is lit for each child in the house. Imagine the beauty of each family member represented by a flickering candle, each bringing light into the world. The sages taught that any time a mitzvah is performed, the blessing should be said before the action. But that poses a special problem for Shabbat. Once Shabbat begins, it's forbidden to kindle a new flame. Therefore, we light the candles just before the beginning of Shabbat, when creating fire is still permitted. However, Shabbat begins as soon as the blessing is recited, so lighting the candles after the blessing would be considered work. Covering one's eyes before reciting the blessing shows that one does not wish to benefit from the light of the candles until after the blessing is said. Once the eyes are uncovered, it's like seeing the light for the first time, and the commandment is fulfilled. Can I have 2 volunteers to light the candles? I'd like to have a male and a female, showing that it's both a couple, perhaps? Excellent. Okay. So you say the blessing first.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'chadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, ruler of the universe, who sanctified us with the commandment of lighting Shabbat candles.
And please rise. Oh, that's the hard one. Right? Here's right out. Yeah, do it with my hand.
Go ahead.
No, you can do it with my hand. Go ahead.
All right.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. And you may be seated. So, tradition states that the connection to women and candlelighting dates back to the matriarch Sarah. So this is called a midrash. It's a commentary or an explanation of what the Bible is trying to say. Rashi explained that a candle burned miraculously in Sarah's tent from one Friday evening to the next. When she died, the candle and its glow vanished. When Isaac's bride, Rebekah, moved into Sarah's tent, however, the miracle of the light returned. This is the first allusion to the lighting of a candle for Shabbat. Just as the matriarchs lit a candle on Friday evening to welcome Shabbat, so too have Jewish women and men from ancient times until the present welcomed Shabbat with lighting of the candles. Now, Rashi was a French rabbi who lived in the Middle Ages. He died in 1105 in France, and his commentary on the Talmud is included in every printed edition of the Talmud since 1520. And if you look at the top, the one next to the heads there, Talmud Shabbat 25b. So Rabbi Nachman, the son of Rabbah, said in the name of Rav, lighting candles for Shabbat is obligatory. Well, Rashi thought he had to say something about that. So he wrote, this is to honor Shabbat, for there is no important meal except in a place of light. So he does, and Rashi does that for almost every sentence in the Talmud. Well, it's written in the Talmud. And one day I'll bring a page of the Talmud and we can look at it. It's really fascinating. One should welcome Shabbat with joy and gladness, like a groom welcoming his bride, and like a king welcoming his queen, for everyone in Israel is a king, and our rabbis taught all of Israel is descended from royalty. Shabbat is personalized through L'chad Dodi. In this personification, the bridal queen enters the synagogue. When we get to verse 9, the congregation rises and turns towards the entrance and bows to greet her. Then as she moves to the forefront of the sanctuary and takes her place on the bima, the congregation turns to the front and bows as she is enthroned next to the ark. Shabbat has finally arrived. So let us sing L'chad Dodi. L'chad Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibor echad, Hishmianu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shem u'tiferet v'litila. L'chad Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'chad Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'nelcha, Ki hi mekor habracha, Meherosh mikedem nesucha, Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tchila. L'chad Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'chad Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, Kiva orehu mi ori, uri, Shir daberi, Kevod Adonai alayich tigla. L'chad Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'chad Dodi likrat kala, Pnei Shabbat nekabela. We rise. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, Gav v'simcha u'tzola, Toch emunei am segula, Boi kala. L'chad Dodi Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat mikabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, Penei Shabbat mikabela. And you may be seated. Mizmor Shir, the Song of Shabbat, begins by contemplating the wonder of creation and ends with a vision of the righteous flourishing in God's house. It celebrates two themes, Shabbat as a day of appreciating creation, and Shabbat as a taste of the time of redemption. The psalmist asks us to heighten our appreciation of the wonders of the creation. In this way, we may feel how good it is to have the opportunity to express gratitude. Mizmor Shir leyom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon. Mizmor Shir leyom HaShabbat, Tov lehodot la'Adonai, ulezamer l'shimcha elyon, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. Let's read the bottom together. It is good to praise Adonai, to sing hymns to your name, O Most High, to proclaim your steadfast love at daybreak, your faithfulness each night. With a 10-string harp, with voice and lyre together, you have gladdened me by your deeds, Adonai. I shall pour joy at your handiwork. How great are your works, Adonai. How very subtle your designs. A brute cannot know. A fool cannot understand this. The righteous bloom like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon. Planted in the house of Adonai, they flourish in the courts of our God. In old age, they still produce fruit. They are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock, in whom there is no wrong. Friday afternoon, the end of a long week, work was frenetic, life at home was crazy, the kids were outrageous. But hang in there, Shabbat is coming. With each step, cooking the dinner, setting the table, dressing up, brings us closer and closer to the magic of Shabbat. While one would hope that a family doesn't come into Shabbat with arguments and disquiet, because the atmosphere of preparation often leads to stress, but no matter what one's mood, once those candles are lit, the sun begins to set and Shabbat arrives. I don't know about you, but every time the candles are lit, or I'm praying, I forget about everything that happened, at least today. Not so much the whole week maybe, but it's a very calming thing. So there's a new rhythm in the home. Some go to services while others wait at home, but for all, the frantic time of the week has passed. The family comes together at Shabbat dinner, enveloped by a sense of peace. The text of our next song belongs to a special category of Sabbath hymns known as Mirot Shel Shabbat, which are sung both before and after the meal. Shalom, peace is our desire as we sing together, Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malchei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bohem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Barchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem l'shalom, malachei hashalom, malachei elyon. Mi melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu. And it's interesting that the first word in each of these paragraphs, each of these verses, tells us something else about Shabbat. So the first one, Shalom Aleichem, peace. The second one, Boachem, the Shalom, is the coming in. We're bringing in Shabbat. Barhuni l'Shalom means bless me on Shabbat. And then Seichem l'Shalom, we see Shabbat leaving at the end of Saturday night. So that signifies the departure of Shabbat. And really that's the whole reason for Shabbat across America. Because we have a Shabbat dinner together, we do a common service, right? So everybody feels kind of as one unit. Especially nowadays, in this time and age, it's very important to feel connected. So the evening service consists of distinct sections. The introductory prayers, the Shema, the Amidah, and the concluding prayers. The Chatzi Kaddish serves as a separator between the different sections. We are now leaving the introductory section, called Kabbalat Shabbat, and are entering the central section, the Shema and its blessings. To signify the shift, we rise and we chant the Chatzi Kaddish. Please rise. Yitgadal v'yitzadah shemei rabah v'yamad yivrach yutei v'yamlik malchutei v'chayechon uvyomechon uchayedecho beit Yisrael badala ubizman karib v'yimru amen Yehi shmei rabah mevarach ve'ala mulal me'al maya Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitbar v'yiromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yithaleh, v'yithalal, shemei dekudsha, la'ela minchol birchata v'shirata, tushbichata v'nechemata, damiran v'yalma, v'yimeru, amen. And the call to worship is on page 8. All sacred acts require summoning. The Zohar, I'll talk about that a little later, tells us that when a minyan is present, we are summoned to prayer by the chanting of the Baruch Hu. So traditionally, the Baruch Hu is done in three different ways. The leader says it first, the first one, then the congregation repeats that, and then we do the third part at the end. So it goes like this. Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach. Baruch hamvorach. Baruch et Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ed. Praise Adonai, to whom praise is due forever. Praise be Adonai, to whom praise is due now and forever. You may be seated. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us, shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Ahavat olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha ahavta, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu lemadita, Al kein Adonai Eloheinu b'shofbenu, Uvkumeinu nasiach bechukecha, V'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha, U'mitzvotecha le'olam va'ed. כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגה יומם ולילה, ובהם נגה ביום ולילה, ואבחתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו Yisrael. Would somebody like to read the English on the bottom of the page?
Everlasting love, you offered your people Israel by teaching us Torah and mitzvah, laws and precepts. Therefore, our God, when we lie down and when we rise up, we will meditate on your laws and your commandments. We will rejoice in your Torah forever. Day and night we will reflect on them. For they are our life, and doing them lengthens our days. Never remove your love from us. Praise to you, Adonai, who loves you, who loves your people Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Page 10. We do the Shema right afterwards. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed. Now, the Shema is by far the most important statement in our Jewish lives. It contains 3 verses. We just did the first one. The passage that follows details the way in which that faith should be lived. Love God with all your being and teach it to your children. Recite it when you wake up and lie down. And bind it as a sign upon your hand and your body. So, I'm wondering, does anybody feel anything different when they close their eyes and they sing the Shema? Anybody have any thoughts or feelings that they'd like to share? Because I'll share mine if nobody else has one. No? Well, here's mine. When God gave us the Torah at Mount Sinai, what we heard was not a one-time thing, right? The voice of God is continuous. The word Shema can mean 2 things. One is to hear, and the other is to listen. It's up to us to Shema, to hear, to not only hear God's voice, but to listen to it as well. Page 11. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'kol livavcha v'kol nafshecha v'kol me'odecha v'hayu hadivarim ha'ele asher Elohi mitzavecha hayom al livavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha b'derech ושוכבך ופקומך, וקשרתם ליוד על ידיך, והיו תוספות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Take to heart these instructions which I charge you this day. Impress them upon your children, recite them when you stay home, and when you're on your way, when you lie down, and when you get up. Bind them as a sign on your hand and as a symbol on your forehead. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. Page 12. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before we ever stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it's eternally Egypt, that there's a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness. There's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha ba'nedar ba'kodesh, nora tehilot, O Seifele, Malchutecha, Ra'uvanecha, Bokei Ayam, Lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zelianu ve'amru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. And we say, let's say together, V'ne'amar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, uga'alo miyad chazak mimenu. Baruch atah Adonai ga'al Yisrael. Now, I think it's really interesting that something happens to a person on the Sabbath day. On the eve of Shabbat, the Lord gives us a neshama yetira, an additional soul. And at the conclusion of the Shabbat, that soul returns to God. What is the significance of this additional soul? Is it that we need the soul for feeling increased spirituality or comfort? Some scholars believe that this extra soul is a perfect soul, according to the world to come. Now, I mentioned the Zohar earlier. The Zohar is the book of Jewish mysticism. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of rules in order to read that book. You have to be a certain age. You have to have gone to a certain level of your studies. And this book implies that these collective souls return to God at the end of the Sabbath. And these souls gather, and God asks them a question. What new insight into the wisdom of the Torah have you attained while present in the lower world? Do you think God would be pleased when the soul that left you and me went back to its supernal place and reported back to him? Shabbat is the time we should not only think about how we perceive life, but also how others perceive us. The world needs us to live a life of holiness. Imagine how wonderful this world would be if we all acted and lived with holiness. Hashkivenu. Would somebody like to read the English, the first part of the English? Begin with peace.
Peace and safety during the night are themes of our next prayer. Nighttime is scary. What happens to us when we sleep? Will we wake up? Hashkivenu ends with our acknowledging that God spreads a Sukkot Shalom Nacha, canopy of peace over all of us. A Sukkah is a fragile structure, open to the elements. Think about our celebration of Sukkot. In this context, peace is a very fragile structure, but is vulnerable to elements, leaving us at risk for danger. Hashkivenu is our plea for God's protection.
And we read together. Give us a place to rest, Adonai our God. Bring us into the shelter of the soft, long evening shadows of your truth. For with you are true protection and safety, and in your presence are acceptance and gentle love. Watch over us as we go forth. Prepare us for when we return. Spread over us and those we love your shelter of peace. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, L'Shalom. One more time. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, L'Shalom. Now you're on the English, okay? Let there be love and understanding among us. Sounds beautiful. Keep it up. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's. Do it again. Hashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, Hashkivenu, Shalom. That sounded really pretty. Vishamru is a Hebrew phrase from the Torah that signifies the commandment to observe the Sabbath and serves as a reminder that by keeping Shabbat, the Jewish people uphold their covenant with God. The word itself directly translates to they shall guard. And like other Hebrew words, it also could mean something else, they shall keep, emphasizing our need to actively protect the sanctity of the Sabbath day. Vishamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי 6 ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת ויהי נפש, שבת ויהי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. We now come to the essential portion of our service, the tefillah, also known as the Amidah, the standing prayer. And if it's your custom to rise, I invite you to do so. And it's the custom to do the first 3 pages together, and then there'll be some silent prayer and some silent meditation, so you can have your own private conversation with God. Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi tehillah. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'hanorah, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'koneh HaKol, V'zocher Chazdei Avot v'imahot, U'mevii ge'ula livnei v'neihem, Lema'an Shemo v'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mikayei metim atarav le'Hoshia. Mashiv haruach u'modid hagashem. Michalkel chaim v'chesed, Michayei metim v'rachamim rabim. So make noflim v'rofei cholim, umatir asurim, umkayem emunato, lishenei afar, michamocha ba'al givurot, umido mehelach, melech memit, umchayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'eman atah l'chayot metim. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hametim. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, u'toshim b'chol yom yehalleluka selah. Baruch atah Adonai, ha'el hakadosh. So please take this time for some private prayer. And when you're finished with your Amidah, you may be seated. Shalom Rab, page 18, Al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech adon, lechol hashalom, ve'atav melech adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael b'chol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Let's read together at the bottom of the page. Grant abundant peace to Israel, your people forever. For you are the sovereign God of all peace. May it be pleasing to you to bless your people Israel in every season and moment with your peace. We now come to the time in our service where we say a prayer for those who need an extra blessing, who may be ill, who may be feeling down. Today, we are keeping the following people in mind: Bill Gluck, Ellie Wasser, Paula Wasser, Ellen Gluck, Gabe Belsky Gluck, Leora Kernis. And if you have any other people you'd like to recognize, I invite you to share their names.
Barbara Harris.
Marie Adams.
Let's read the English together. May the one who blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal those who are ill. May the blessed Holy One be filled with compassion for their health to be restored and their strength to be revived. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit. And we say, Amen. Mi sheberach avoteinu mikor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mi sheberach imotenu mikor habracha lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And now, it's our custom to share good news. Does anybody have any good news that they'd like to share? Maybe go on a trip and come back recently, have a birthday,
Yes, yes, and yes.
anniversary. You know what? Well, I think that everybody has something to be grateful for, even if they don't realize it, right? So just getting up in the morning is grateful. Everybody says, when I come to school in the morning, everybody says, how are you doing? I said, I got up this morning, that's half the battle, right? So I think tonight, even though you don't want to share that much, we should do a shehiyah. So please rise, and we will bless God for all of our good things. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehecheanu v'kimanu v'hegianu lazman hazeh. the bottom of page 19 is the blessing for our holy congregation. Will somebody like to read that?
For our congregation, source of all being, may the children of this community learn these passions from us: love of Torah, devotion in prayer, and support of the needy. May we guide with integrity, and may our leadership be in your service. May those who teach and nourish us be blessed with satisfaction, and may we appreciate their time and their devotion. Bless us with the fruits of wisdom and understanding, and may our efforts bring fulfillment and joy.
Thank you. And for our country, on the top of page 20. O guardian of life and liberty, may our nation always merit your protection. Teach us to give thanks for what we have by sharing it with those who are in need. Keep our eyes open to the wonders of creation and alert to the care of the earth. May we never be lazy in the work of peace. May we honor those who have died in the defense of our ideas. Grant our leaders with wisdom and forbearance. May they govern with justice and compassion. Help us all to appreciate one another and to respect the many ways that we may serve you. May our homes be safe from affliction and strife, and our country be sound in body and spirit. And we say, Amen.
Amen.
And for the state of Israel, would somebody care to read that one?
Our Father in heaven, rock and redeemer of Israel, bless the state of Israel, the first manifestation of the approach of our redemption. Shield it with your loving kindness, envelop it in your peace, and bestow your light and truth upon its leaders, ministers, and advisors. Embrace them with your good counsel. Strengthen the hands of those who defend our holy land. Grant them deliverance, and adorn them with the mantle of victory. Ordain peace in the land, and grant its inhabitants eternal happiness.
Amen. Thank you. No, it's funny. People read that first line sometimes when they say, Our Father in heaven. That sounds very non-Jewish. And the actual beginning of the prayer, Avinu Bashamayim, says, Our Father in heaven. So that's the Hebrew actually says that. So we're on. Now I'm going to talk about Purim. Because Purim is in 2 weeks, right? We could have 2 weeks. And since it's a little after our service, I thought we would talk a little bit about Purim and read a short version of the Megillah. And first I wanted to show you a Megillah, the Megillah Esther. We happen to have one in the Ark. And it's very, very cool. So if you can hold that in. And if you want to come on up here and see how similar this is to a Torah scroll. It's similar, but different. There's 10 chapters in the book. And I'm going to give you some interesting facts about it, but I thought I'd take it out to show people because it's never been out since I've been here. So it needed some air. You know, it's funny, when I was growing up and they said the Megillah Esther, I always thought of Megillah Gorilla. Remember the cartoon Megillah Gorilla? So here are some facts about the book of Esther. It has 10 chapters, 167 verses, and 5,637 words. All the letters of the Hebrew alphabet are found in chapter 3, verse 13. The longest verse in the Bible appears in Esther. It has 43 words in Hebrew, which is about 90 words in the English translation. The word mishteh means drinking party or banquet, and it occurs 20 times in this scroll. That's equal to the total of all the other times it's found in the whole rest of the Bible. The only reference to Israel is one sentence, when Mordecai and the captives are carried away from Jerusalem. That's the only time that's mentioned, Israel's mentioned. Mordecai may have been the first person in history to be called a Jew. Before then, Jews were called Israelites or Hebrews. The book has many words that appear nowhere else in the Bible. And God's name is not mentioned even once in the entire scroll. So, some interesting facts I thought I would share with you. So, we took this scroll and condensed it into the Reader's Digest version. So on pages 21 and 22, I'd like to perhaps do this as a reading and going around, so everybody take a little piece.
Should I get the brothers?
If you want. Oh, Steve's going?
Do you know where they are, Steve?
All right, so we'll wait. We'll do a soft shoe. So during Purim, you're supposed to get smashed. You're supposed to drink so much that you can't tell the difference between the good and the bad. So I heard a story the other day that someone used that excuse when they got pulled over for drunk driving. Not a good idea.
Well, depends where.
We'll all be children for 15 minutes.
Mhm.
Too old to be young.
So every time you hear Haman, you ring it and you hit it and you grog it. Would you like to begin?
You need one?
You need one. You read until you finish.
It all began in ancient Persia in the 4th century BC. The holy temple that had stood in Jerusalem was destroyed more than 50 years earlier, and the Jews were subjects of the mighty Persian Empire that extended over 127 lands. 3 years after King
Ahasuerus.
ascended the Persian throne, when he felt secure in his new position, he celebrated by throwing a grand 180-day-long party for all his subjects. Following this extravagant gala,
Ahasuerus.
next day, hosted a smaller week-long party for the residents of the capital of Shushan. In the palace's women's quarters,
Ahasuerus' wife.
Queen Vashti hosted her own party for Shushanite women.
On the 7th day of this party, Ahasuerus' heart was merry with wine, and he commanded his wife Vashti to appear before all the partying men. He wanted to show them all her exquisite beauty. Vashti balked at this request, and at the advice of his advisor Mushan, Ahasuerus ordered Vashti's execution. When Ahasuerus' wrath dissipated, he was lonely for a wife. His servants suggested that he orchestrate a beauty pageant. Officers would be appointed in all the king's lands, and all beautiful girls would be brought to Ahasuerus, and the girl who would find favor in the king's eyes would be the new queen.
So I was reading some commentary about this, and I don't remember who said it, but it's now thought, or some people think, that Memushan was Haman. We didn't get there yet. All right, next.
The leader of the Jews at the time was a Shushanite resident named Mordecai. He had a cousin Esther, who was orphaned as a young girl. Mordecai raised her and treated her as a daughter. Though she had no desire to be the queen, Esther was forcibly taken to the king's harem to participate in the contest. While all the other princesses beautified themselves with perfumes and lotions, Esther did nothing. But God had his own plan. When Esther appeared before the king, he immediately liked her, and Esther became the new queen of Persia. As per Mordecai's directive, Esther refused to divulge that she was a Jew, even to the king.
It's actually been said, I read again in this commentary, that Esther never met her parents. They said that they died when she was a baby. Continue. Whoever wants to go next.
Shortly after Esther became queen, Mordecai overheard two of the king's chamberlains discussing a plot to assassinate the king. Mordecai had them reported, and the traitors were hanged. Meanwhile, Haman, one of Ahasuerus' ministers, was promoted to the position of prime minister. Haman was a virulent Jew-hater. In fact, he was a descendant of the notoriously anti-Semitic nation of Amalek.
Next.
Immediately after his promotion, the king issued a decree ordering everyone to bow down under the hand of Now Haman was carrying a large idol hanging from a chain around his neck. But Mordecai, a proud Jew, refused to bow down. He resolved to take revenge against all the Jews and drew lots to determine the lucky day when he would implement his plan. The lot fell on the 13th day of the Hebrew month of Adar.
Mordecai became aware of the decree. He sent a message to Esther asking her to approach the king and beg him to spare her people. Esther responded that according to the rules, anyone who entered the king's presence unsummoned would be put to death unless the king extended to that person his golden scepter. And I, Esther said, have not been summoned by the king for 30 days already. Mordecai sent another message. Do not think that you will escape the fate of all the Jews by being in the king's palace. For if you will remain silent at this time, relief and salvation will come to the Jews from another source, and you and the house of your father will be lost. And who knows if it's not just for a short time, such time, that you will reach its royal position.
Esther agreed to approach the king, but she asked Mordecai to gather all the Jews in Shushan, then let them all, something for 3 days and nights. After this fast, Esther would put her life in her hands and approach the king. Mordecai complied with Esther's request. He gathered the Jews of Shushan, especially the children, 22,000 of them, and they fasted, repented, and prayed to God. After 3 days of fasting, Esther donned royal garb and entered Ahasuerus' chamber. Immediately the king extended his scepter. What is it? Ahasuerus asked. What is your request? I would like to invite the king to the feast I have prepared. Esther's right.
So the king and Haman during Esther wine feast. During the feast, the king again asked Esther whether she had anything to request. Yes, Esther responded. I'd appreciate it tomorrow again, the king and Haman and then I will tell the king my request. Haman was a happy and proud man. On the honor he was being recorded, but standing at the king's gate was Mordecai, who still refused to bow. Enraged, and arrived home his wife and wise advisors, counsels him to erect a gallows, and then to go to the king and request permission to hang Mordecai. Haman finally went ahead and put up the gallows. Sleep eluded the king that night, so he asked his servants to read for him from the royal chronicles. They complied with the king's orders. They read from the chronicles how Mordecai saved the king's life when two of his chamberlains hatched a plot to kill him.
Was he rewarded for this fine act?
Upper Ferris.
Task?
No, he was not discerned as fine. At that moment, Haman
Asked the king's permission to hang Mordecai. Before he addressed him. My name, what shall be done to a person whom the king wishes to honor?
before him, so is done for the man whom the king wishes to honor.
Great idea, Ahasuerus responded. Now go get the garments and the horse and do so to mortify the Jew. Haman had to comply. On the next day, he went and honored Mordecai as the king had ordered, and then immediately rushed to join the king and Esther for
What is your request? Curious King Ahasuerus asked Esther at the feast. If I have found favor in your eyes, O king, Esther pleaded, and if it pleases the king, let my life be granted me by my plea, and the life of my people be my request. For my people have been sold to be annihilated, killed, and destroyed. Esther then identified as the evil person who wished to perpetrate this atrocity. The king was greatly angered when he was then informed that Haman had built the gallows for Mordecai. He ordered that Haman be hanged on that very gallows.
On that day, was given to Esther, and Mordecai was appointed prime minister. But Esther was far from satisfied. But his evil decree was still in effect. According to Persian law, once a king issues a decree, it cannot be rescinded. But the king gave Mordecai and Esther permission, and they promptly wrote Esther the decree that countermanded. The decree granted the Jews permission to defend themselves against their enemies.
Go ahead.
And the Jews in Shushan were also happy. Celebrations abounded. Jews worldwide celebrate a holiday called Purim to celebrate this liberation.
You did it. Perfect timing, too. Look at that. Everyone figured out exactly what they had to read to get to the end. That's amazing.
Almost.
It's funny that this controversy that Esther married the king, because at that time nobody married out of the religion, and so in the Talmud there's a lot of talk about her getting married to the king and not a Jew. And then there's another group of commentators who say, well, that's the only way she could have gotten in to save the Jews. So is it okay to break a certain law, a certain commandment, and do something different in order to help and do something for someone else? So there's a whole big commentary about that. But I think it's an exciting story. And like any good standing member of the clergy, I'm obligated to take a few moments to give you some insight into what we just heard. Okay? And at the end, I'm going to give you a charge. Do something over the next month. Do you know that we can speak without saying anything? And do you know that not speaking also says something? So let's recap for a second. Queen Esther was a regular Jewish woman who became queen due to her beauty and charm. She became beloved by the king and had a convenient, comfortable life. She could have remained silent while her people were slaughtered. Her life wouldn't have changed. She could have ensured the protection of her uncle without speaking for the rest of the Jewish people. But instead, she listened to Mordecai, and although terrified, she revealed her Judaism and asked the king to save her people. She understood that not to speak was to speak. She understood that the survival of her people was more important than her own personal safety. Bravery does not mean a lack of fear. Bravery is an understanding the consequences and choosing to act despite the fear. Bravery is understanding that choosing to act can be difficult. You probably heard a poem written by Pastor Martin Niemöller. It's a message that we associate with the Holocaust, but it's very true for this story as well. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I wasn't a communist. Then they came for the socialists, and I didn't speak out because I was not a socialist. Then they came for the trade unionists, and I didn't speak out because I was not in a union. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I wasn't a Jew. But then they came for me, and there's no one left to speak for me. Interesting. So what do we take home from this message? Anybody want to comment? Because then I'll give you mine.
You need to advocate.
Okay? You will? I know my wife will always have something to say, so that was a good thing. Well, one, like Esther, we should never lose hope. Even in the most dire of circumstances, the Jews of Shushan had faith. So I think that in our situation that we're in now, always having hope will be a good thing. Two, the importance of self-help. Don't just stand idly by in the face of danger or injustice to oneself, one's community, or to others. Do something about it. Esther didn't take no for an answer. She approached the king, and she knew that approaching the king could result in her death, but she went anyway. Kol Yisrael Aravim Zeh Lazeh. All of Israel is responsible for one another, no matter who. Don't leave the problem up to heaven, because God needs us to act. And three, the last part, the importance of remembering our past and its lessons. In today's culture, staying alert is vital. In better times, we had the tendency to relax, yet bigotry and injustice can still arise unexpectedly. Even the most positive event can sometimes trigger unforeseen problems. So with those words, I wish you an early Chag Sameach Purim, and I wish each of you the strength of Esther, the will of Mordechai, and the ability to do what's right. So enough of this seriousness. Let's celebrate by singing a very silly song. So the next page in your packet is called Peanut Butter, Poppy Prune, or Chocolate Hamantashen. And it's sung to the tune of Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Okay? So I'll sing the first paragraph for you, and then you should be able to figure it out. Peanut butter, poppy prune, or chocolate hamantashen. If Purim is the holiday, the snack you will be noshin'. It's Haman's hat or ears or eyes, on this I am not joshin'. Peanut butter, poppy prune, or chocolate hamantashen. Yum diddle lum diddle I, yum diddle lum diddle I. When I was just a little kid, a long, long time ago, the month of Dar had just come in, but how was I to know that there was such a holiday with food I would sequester, the yummy treat I loved to eat when reading about Esther. Poppy prune or chocolate hamantashen. Noshin, it's Haman's hat or ears or eyes, and that I am not joshin'. Peanut butter, poppy prune, or chocolate hamantashen. Yum diddle lum diddle I, yum diddle lum diddle I. The first time that I saw these things triangular in shape, their smell was oh so heavenly that there was no escape. I took a bite, my appetite grew. Without us, nay, Haman, and Purim, what would I do? Peanut butter, poppy prune, or chocolate hamantashen. If Purim is the holiday, the snack you will be noshin'. It's hat or ears or eyes, and this I am not joshin'. Peanut butter, poppy prune, or chocolate hamantashen. Yum diddle lum diddle I, yum diddle lum diddle I. So when we read of Mordechai around this time of year, just don't forget a mitzvah which will bring a lot of cheer. We give out gifts to one and all, they're called shalach manot. And in English that presents food, oh, hamantashen, in my boat. Oh, peanut butter, poppy prune, or chocolate hamantashen. Purim is the holiday, the snack you will be joshin'. See, his hat or ears or eyes, and this I will be joshin'. Peanut butter, poppy prune, or chocolate hamantashen. Yum diddle lum diddle I, yum diddle lum diddle I. The trick is to do that in one breath. We rise for the Aleinu on page 26.
Oh, thank you very much.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teit gedula l'yotzeh breshit, shelo asanu giloyei haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, shelo sam kelkeinu kahem, v'gor aleinu k'kol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים HaKadosh Baruch Hu. V'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz. Vayom hahu yeh Adonai echad. Ushemo echad. With harmony. I bet you may be seated. Thank you. May be seated. So let's read this responsibly. Remember our people who suffered and died so that we can be free and secure. May their memory be more than just a distant shadow. Remember our brothers and sisters whose sacrifice kept the dream of democracy and justice alive. May their courage be our inspiration and strength. Remember our brothers and sisters who are actively protecting our homeland. Remember the fallen of our armed services, the victims of terror and tragedy. May the darkness of their loss not obscure the light of peace. They were in love with our land and in love with life. Tonight, we remember Dora Feldman Benjamin, grandmother of Louis Gold, Rhoda Dano Benjamin, mother of Sharon Slavit and Karen Rexon, Seymour Block, father of Ellen Ben Susan, Gloria Brody, mother of Roberta Godby Tip, Kate Brody, Hannah Driller, Marion B. Giles, Merrill L. Hassenfeld, father of Alex Hassenfeld, Dr. Harold S. Hillman, Delmore Elliott Hoffman, father of Deborah Darkow, Arlene Eiderstadt Kay, sister of Donna Neufeld, Josephine N. Kessman, aunt of Paula Reynolds, Louis N. Crone, father of Steve Crone, Gary Lappin, brother of Rosalind Guarnieri, Hillel S. Levinson, father of Lawrence Levinson, David Levitin, Ida E. Levy, grandmother of Ken Levy, Elizabeth Martyr Marks, Eva Marks, Irving Machusoff, uncle of Dr. Louis Hefkin, Lillian Maisel, Samuel A. Mersman, Dorothy N. Merman, mother of Carol Feinstein, Jessie Malosky, Fanny P. Nussenfeld, grandmother of Paula Reynolds, Pat Pires, Goldie Rabinowitz, Elaine H. Rodman, cousin of Herb Sackett, Shirley Helen Sackett, sister of Herb Sackett, Burton Schaefer, Erna Jane Siegel, Isaac Solomon, Frank Sirota, Sadie R. Suzman, Edna Rhoda Warshaw, Samuel G. Wurzel, father of Lisa Rayola, Beverly Zuller, mother of Marilyn Zuller Morin, Harold Friedman, my grandfather, Marilyn Baker, and Irene Belsky, mother of Gay Belsky Buck. If you have another name that you'd like to add to our list tonight, I invite you to do so and share maybe a little about them if you like.
Alex Friedman.
If you are celebrating your site, I invite you to stand for the mourner's cottage. And if you are not, I invite you to stand to be supportive of those who are in mourning as we recite together the mourner's cottage. Yit gadal v'yit kadash shemei rabah v'alma digrach yuteh v'yamlik malkuteh v'chayechon u'yemechon u'chayeh v'kol beit Yisrael v'agala u'bizman karim v'emru Yehei shmei rabah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almayah Yitbarak, v'yishtabach, v'yitba'ar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yitaleh, v'yithalal, shemei dekusha, le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata, v'nechemata, da'amiran, v'yalma, v'imru, yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu, v'al kol Yisrael, Be'emru, Oseh Shalom, Bimeromav Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu Ve'al Kol Yisrael Ve'emeru Amen. So, some announcements before we end with the Kiddush, which we're going to stand for anyway. So, we had a wonderful evening tonight with wonderful food and friends and just schmoozing, right? So I want to thank Carrie and David Curlin for everything they did to make this night possible. I think she's, right? You cut every piece of chicken, you cut every carrot by yourself, right? And next month, beginning next month, services will begin at 7 o'clock instead of 7:30. So you can get home before the reruns of Blue Bloods at 10 o'clock. So the Kiddush is on the final page. And we run. Oh, and this is it looks like a new goblet, doesn't it? It looks like a brand new Kiddush cup. But it's not. It was shined and polished by our very own president. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddeshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu b'shabbat kodsho v'ahava u'ratzot hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh bereshit ki hu yom tefillah lemikra kodesh zecher l'tziat mitzrayim ki banu v'charta yotanu kidashta mikol hamim b'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava u'vratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh hashabbat. Amen. And with that, I wish you a wonderful Shabbat, a great month, and I will see you next month.
Yes.
There's no Oneg tonight because we had the dinner as our pre-neg.
Did you want to mention the event on the 30th?
Oh, yes. Why don't we mention the choral event on the 30th?
Yes, thank you. I'm a singer with the Providence Singers, a choral group, the premier choral group in Rhode Island, if I may say. On the 30th of March, we're doing a program based on the Diary of Anne Frank called Annalise at the Waterfire Art Center in Providence. So if you, we're hoping for a lot of people to attend. It's beautiful, the music is very nice, the lyrics are a little difficult, but it's hopeful at the end anyway. So if you're interested in attending that, tickets are on sale. If you go to the providencesingers.org website, the ticket's there. If you have any other questions, let me know. Thank you.
I would love to see a big turnout from our congregation there. So hopefully you come.
Tell them the date.
March 30th.
Turn your bloggers. Yeah. Right here.
Don't try to walk up with
Sit on it. Well, you know, you sit on it on this wrong thing. Mildly painful.
Is it where they are? Hey, nice seeing you again. Thank you. Come again.
She's gone for the whole